Some people seem to have a lot going for them. They can play the piano, they speak multiple languages, they're good at sports, they're successful with their business dealings, and for them it seems like the list goes on and on. What steps are these people taking? What's the one thing they have in common? It's the ability to learn new things quickly, and you can too. Hi everyone, I'm Mark Daoud, DMD. I'm a board certified pediatric dentist. On my channel, I discuss career topics, education, and healthcare. Subscribe to my channel and smash the thumbs up button below. Learning how to learn, in my opinion, is the most important skill because with it, you gain new skills and can excel in any arena in your life. But who has the time to sit and actually learn these days? We try to read a chapter for a class or for work or that business book we've been wanting to read, all while watching Netflix. Or we get distracted by our phones, and instead of doing the intended work, we end up scrolling on Instagram. By the way, follow me on Instagram at the Dr. Mark. Sorry, I digress. The first step in learning is forgetting. Yes, forgetting. Forget about what you think you know about the topic and approach the subject from the eyes of a child. Be curious as if this is the first time you've ever heard of the subject. At the same time, forget about your phone and social media for a bit. But wait, in step two, I'll talk more about the breaks you can take and how to take them to make focusing more possible. Let's face it, many of us are glued to our phones and may have some sort of phone addiction. All the tech in our lives is great, but shutting off notifications for periods at a time and having a humble attitude toward the subject is the first crucial step to mastering what you're learning. The biggest and most difficult distraction to ignore are the thoughts in your head. These thoughts can range from, this is so hard, I'll never learn this stuff, to, the time has finally come. I can't believe I'm actually studying for this entrance exam. When I was studying for the dental admissions test, DAT, it took me a good week to overcome the thoughts of, I can't believe the time has finally come. This test is going to be a big factor in the direction of the rest of my life. It was anxiety of getting a low score and the unknown for my future if I did get a good score. The way I overcame these thoughts were by having 5 to 10 minutes of quiet time every morning before I started studying. This way, I allowed myself to experience the thoughts that would surface. I then wrote the thoughts I had and then read them as if I was a stranger reading a letter about someone else's thoughts. It was a way for me to overcome anxiety or restlessness of my mind. Having a humble, childlike curiosity with no distraction is great. But when you start actually diving into the material, you have to be an active learner. So there's active learning and passive learning. Passive learning can be listening to a lecture or reading a book, whereas active learning is reading a book and taking handwritten notes, or listening to a lecture and taking handwritten notes, or performing an action such as actually playing the piano yourself. Handwritten notes have been shown to be much better than typing when it comes to learning a subject. When actively learning, I mainly use two techniques, and that's the Feynman technique and the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique allows for better quality focus over a longer period of time, and it helps fight procrastination. First, decide on a task or pick the thing that you want to learn. Set a timer for 25 minutes, as the technique breaks the workday up into 25-minute chunks. After the timer rings, take a 5-minute break. Essentially, you're breaking the workday up into 25-minute chunks separated by 5-minute breaks. After four of these Pomodoros, take a longer 15 to 30-minute break and then repeat. This is where you can have your social media and phone breaks. You can also get app timers on your phone to help you stick to this routine. Now to the Feynman technique. It's a method of learning that unleashes your potential and forces you to develop a deep understanding of the topic. Richard Feynman was a Nobel Prize winning physicist. His real superpower, however, was his ability to explain complicated subjects to others in simple terms. The first step is to write down as you're learning the subject matter. If writing is not possible, then actively engage in some way. After you've covered the material completely, the second step is to teach the material in a simple manner, as if you're teaching it to a child. I used to have a whiteboard in my apartment in dental school and would pretend to teach the material to a classroom. In step three of the Feynman technique, you want to see where you're shaky and try to relearn and re explain the material in a more simple manner. After you've brushed up on the shaky areas, in step four, reteach the whole topic in the most simple manner possible. When teaching the material, think of what a child would ask. Why do we have gravity? Why do we have cells in our body? Why does this function that way? Getting down to the nuts and bolts of a topic will make you more knowledgeable about a topic. On an exam, that knowledge can be the difference between an A and a B. And for a professional, this can be the difference between someone who just follows guidelines versus someone who knows why the guidelines were created. Think about it. Would you want a doctor that just follows guidelines or someone who understands the guidelines and critically thinks about the problem while still using the guidelines? Personally, I would want the critical thinker over the memorizer any day. Step three is for you overachievers. Please take breaks. We're going to talk about how inventor Thomas Edison and artist Salvador Dali both used rest to get the creative juices flowing. The obvious reason to rest is to prevent burnout, but you're most creative when you're in a resting brain state. Take it from my experience. I used to skip breaks and just crank out as much work as I could when I had the energy. I would see my productivity diminish over the course of a week, and I'd be forced to take a break. And when I couldn't take a break, I would study or work on less than optimal productivity. That's why it's super important to follow the Pomodoro breaks and take days off during the week. Also, make sure to exercise, go outside, and most importantly, get a good night's sleep. Limit all nighters and try to avoid them if possible. This will help lower anxiety as anxious thoughts can seriously distract from the learning process. Now, let's talk about brain states. The great inventor Thomas Edison and the artist Salvador Dali, when faced with an obstacle they couldn't find the solution to, would do the following. While thinking about the problem, they would sit in a chair while holding an object in their hand. They would slowly begin to fall asleep. The object in their hand would drop to the ground and wake them up. They would then go write the proposed solution. In a relaxed state, your brain isn't focused on one specific thing, but thoughts and ideas are bouncing around. When we are so ingrained in a system or in a way of doing things, new problems that arise from our way of doing things can be difficult to solve. We may forget to think of solutions outside of the box, which is what may be needed to solve new problems or problems arising from the way we've been doing things. Step four, test yourself as you learn. You may learn and study the material, but training your brain to answer questions for an exam or potential problems will help mimic real life situations at work and on test day. I've tutored and coached many people. Those who prepared by testing their knowledge and working through potential problems fared much better than those who did not. At work, if something can go wrong, it usually will go wrong at some point. For a test, a hard question or subject that you're unsure of usually will show up on the test. Also, having prepared for these different scenarios will increase the likelihood of making what you've learned a long term skill. Use test questions that are available to you or things you think may be asked and put them on flashcards. You can also use apps like Anki to go back and test yourself. What's great about these apps is you pull out your phone on a bus or if you're waiting in line and you can test yourself. Reviewing new material with old material will help you connect concepts and it gives you a stronger understanding of the subject. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel and don't forget to smash the thumbs up button below.